So I was about 3 months into my quarter-life crisis trip to Africa, and I just arrived at this new apartment where I'd be staying and volunteering for several weeks. My new roommate there was incredibly enthusiastic about meeting me. Hi, just so you know, I'm a virgin, and I recently made the promise to God that the next man I kissed would be my husband. After traveling by myself for so long, I was kind of desperate to make friends. I think that we'd actually have a lot in common because I also recently made a promise that the next man I kissed would have at least bought me a Bud Light first. So, twins. We're twins. This didn't make us instant best friends, but a few nights later, she did pop into my room and invite me to Bible study with some of the local missionaries. And Bible study isn't something I'd normally jump at, but when you're living in Africa and the sun sets and then 15 minutes later the electricity cuts out and you have literally nothing to do but sit in a dark room for 4 hours until you get tired enough to fall asleep, Bible study sounds pretty thrilling, even when you're Jewish. So I go to Bible study and it starts with hymns, and let's just say these songs didn't make the playlist at my bat mitzvah. So I stayed quiet until one of the missionary men noticed that I wasn't singing, and he was like, "Julie, don't be shy, sing along. Don't know this hymn? Request another one. We know them all. Don't know any hymns? What about Christmas songs? We all know Christmas songs. Request whichever one you want." And this was, by the way, in the middle of March. And so I was racking my brain trying to remember the song from the 3rd grade winter spectacular that had prompted my mother to write a strongly worded letter to our principal reminding him that Christmas was not a school appropriate holiday. And I came up blank. I know Jingle Bells? The man's face darkened immediately. That is a pagan song. I honestly wouldn't have known what to do had his wife not jumped in to save me, and she was all, "Julie, you know Silent Night, right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, Silent Night. I know a couple of words to Silent Night." And that was the literal truth. I knew 2 words, and they were silent and night. But I belted the shit out of them when they came around, and that made the missionaries pretty happy. So that got me through the sing-along portion of the evening and brought us to the discussion period where we just chatted about those morons who believe in evolution. I, again, stayed quiet just because anything else would have felt inappropriate, but also because I was really consumed with my shock that there were no snacks at Bible study. I mean, with my people, it is sacrilege to gather without noshies. So back at the apartment that night, my roommate turns to me and is like, "Julie, after tonight, I have to ask, what kind of Christian are you?" And I go back and forth for a bit, debating breaking the Jew news to her, and then I figure why not go ahead and do it? I mean, if things went horribly awry and she got violent or something, I could probably take her. I mean, she's a virgin. So I tell her, and she's like, "You're a Jew?" And her face is frozen in this look of shock, like she's just walked into a surprise party, but a surprise party to tell her she's adopted, so a real shitty surprise. What is that religion about? What do you guys even do? And the truth was, I didn't know what to tell my virgin friend because despite going to Hebrew school for most of my childhood, I didn't have much of an idea of what my religion was about. You see, I was illiterate in Hebrew while everyone else my age could read and write pretty decently. So my synagogue had no choice but to assume that I was mentally disabled. And accordingly, while all the mainstream kids were in the classroom learning, I'm guessing, important things about our religion, I was in the special needs resource room reading picture books and singing nursery rhymes, all the way up until I was 15. So the only thing I glean from my formal Jewish education is that Jews are really, really nice to retarded people. Hold on. Jews at least believe in Jesus, though, right? And I mean, that was one thing about my religion I did know. And when I answered her, she just backed away silently, and I didn't really see or hear from her for many days. Until again, one day she just popped into my room to invite me to Bible study. And I wasn't sure if I should go because I didn't think that the first time had gone particularly well. But I mean, when you're in Africa in a dark room, it's kind of hard to pretend like you're too busy to do something, you know? And like when you literally know nobody else on the continent, like you can't even socially lie your way out of a situation. You can't be like, oh, what time? I would, but in 15 minutes I'm going to the Cheesecake Factory with my girls, you know? So whatever, I went. And this time when I walked into the room, it was clear that everybody already knew that I was Jewish because, you know, virgins. Gossips. Such gossips. So that meant that I was spared from soloing on Silent Night, but it also meant that one of the German missionaries felt the need to preface the entire experience for me, and she was like, Julie, just so you know, I don't blame your people for murdering Jesus. I mean, I know all humans are capable of awful, awful things. Come on, I'm German. And so in that moment, I decided that Bible study clearly was not the place for me. I just couldn't come back. The next time my roommate asked me, I would just have to pretend that I was really busy with my flashlight and shadow puppets or something, you know? But then, again, of course, my roommate does invite me to Bible study, and this time it's to a special potluck dinner Bible study, and she's baking chocolate cupcakes. And I mean, it's like really hard for me to say no to a baked good. Like, God knows that. So I decided that as long as I was just going to Bible study only for the chocolate cupcakes, then that made Bible study more kosher. Thank you.